You're managing an emergency department. Patients arrive by ambulance or walk in, and not everyone needs the same level of care. Some patients need to go straight to the front of the line, while others can safely wait for triage or an exam room. Do you have enough triage staff? What happens when trauma rooms or exam rooms fill up? And how does limited capacity affect the flow of patients through the emergency department? There's a model for that. Welcome to Model Monday, a series where we break down scenarios in different industries, organizations, and departments, and explain how you can build a simulation of them in Process Playground. Let's model it. This model will have 5 items, 1 to represent each level of the Emergency Severity Index, or ESI, where 1 is the most urgent and 5 is the least urgent. The first one is ESI 1, and we'll make that red. Now we'll create an ESI 2 and make that orange, ESI 3 and make it yellow, ESI 4 in green, and ESI 5 in blue. Now that we've created our items, we're going to start building our process with a demand block, which will create items continuously throughout our simulation. We'll call this ambulance patients. We'll start with our ESI 1s, and we'll set this to be 1 arrival at a constant time of 30 minutes between arrivals. So 2 items every 60 minutes. We'll also set these to be a priority of 1, which means that this item will be handled first if given the option in a block. We'll come down here to the bottom and add another item, ESI 2. We'll change the distribution of time between arrivals to be exponential with a mean of 20 minutes. This means that many items will arrive faster than 20 minutes, but there will also be several items that arrive slower to maintain the average around 20 minutes. We'll also set this to have a priority of 2. We're going to add a second demand block to represent our walk-in patients, so we'll put this down here. We'll remove the ESI 1s in this case and add ESI 2 with an exponential distribution with a mean of 30 minutes, so 2 an hour. We'll also set that as a priority 2. Then we'll add ESI 3, and we'll do that with an exponential distribution with a mean of 20 minutes. We'll set this priority to 3. Now we'll do an ESI 4, and it's exponential with a mean of every 15 minutes, and set the priority to 4. And finally, we'll add ESI 5, which has an exponential distribution with a mean of 10 minutes. And we'll set that to priority 5. Our patients who are ESI 1, 2, or 3 are going to bypass our registration process and go to triage. We're going to create a queue here to hold our patients waiting for triage and name it ESI 1 to 3 triage path. Because we only want ESI 1, 2, and 3 going down this path, we are going to turn off Allow All Items. Then we will add each of those items to this block. Down below with walk-in patients, we're going to actually check them in. So we'll add a registration queue, and when a patient walks in, they will wait until registration can get to them. So next, we'll add a registration desk as an activity block, and we'll say there are 3 stations available at registration. We will allow all items in this case and set a processing time distribution to be triangular with a minimum of 2 minutes, a mode of 4 minutes, and a maximum of 10 minutes. Once our walk-ins have gone through registrations, the ones that were considered ESI 2 and 3 will go up to the triage path, and we'll send the ESI 4s and 5s to their own section to wait. We'll create a queue block and turn off Allow All Items, and then add ESI 4 and 5. Just to double check, you will have ESI 4 and 5 in here, and ESI 1, 2, and 3 going through this top section. Let's fill out the rest of the top process. We'll add an activity block we'll call Triage, which will represent the actual time triaging. We'll use the servers available to set that there are 4 people who can do the triage. Since we've already split out the patients going down this path, we can leave this as Allow All Items and treat each patient the same. Now, we'll set the processing time distribution to a triangular distribution with parameters 5, 10, and 20. The triage step will result in one of two outcomes: sending the patient to the trauma room or to the exam room priority queue. We'll add a decision block here. Let's add the trauma rooms as an activity block and call it Trauma Room Treatment. Let's say we have 10 trauma rooms, so we'll set the servers available here to 10. And we'll set the processing time to 30, 45, and 120. The other option is the exam room priority queue. So let's create a queue that will feed into our exam rooms. Going back to our decision block, we're going to set this to operate based on priority. So we'll try to send the patient to the trauma room first, but if those are full, it will then send the patient to the exam room priority queue. We'll then create the process of the exam room. We'll also say that we have 10 rooms available here. The processing time is a little shorter though. Let's set this to 20, 30, and 60. Now if we add our items ESI 4 and 5, you'll see that they'll carry over the defaults set by Allow All Items. We could leave Allow All Items on just for ESI 4 and 5, but we've added them here to show the details and have turned it off. We can also add ESI 1 here, and the time for ESI 1 in the exam room is similar to what we saw in the trauma rooms, just a little bit longer for the specific ESI 1s. So we'll set this to 45, 60, and 120. Then for an ESI 2, we'll set this to 30, 45, and 90. And finally, for ESI 3, we'll set this to 30, 45, and 60. Great. So now we have a single activity block that is able to treat different item types with different processing times. Now let's track the individual times for each patient type. There are several ways to do this, but today we'll show individual queue blocks. We'll create a block for ESI 1 and turn off Allow All Items, then add ESI 1. This will create just a pass-through block to look at the statistics for the ESI 1s. We'll connect both paths up to here. We can even change the color of the connection lines for added emphasis or visibility. In this case, we'll color the arrows coming from the top process to be red. We'll repeat those steps for each of the ESI levels. ESI 2 and allow only ESI 2, connect it up and make it red. ESI 3, allow only ESI 3. We'll create that line, put it in there, and make it red. Alright, now we can create ESI 4, and that item only comes from the bottom process. Finally, we'll create ESI 5, and we will only allow ESI 5. We'll add an exit block and call it Overall Stats, and then connect each of these queues to that exit. Now we can run the model, and we'll do that for 1,440 minutes. We start to see a variety of patients coming in, and that our model appears to be running smoothly since our patients are making it to the exit. If we double-click on our exit block and then click on the results, we can see how many patients were supported through this process. If we click on Count and Total Lead Time, we can add these statistics to the bottom of the exit block. So we can see 468 patients in this block with an average total lead time of about 74 minutes. This means that on average, it took about 74 minutes from patient arrival to the patient reaching this block. We can even look at a histogram of how long it took patients overall to finish the process. For each individual patient type, we can look at the queue blocks. So if we double-click on ESI 1, we can click on the checkboxes again for count and total lead time and apply to all of the queue blocks. You can see those statistics show up again here. We can see here we had 46 and 77, ESI 2 was 112 and 76, ESI 3 was 74 and 81, ESI 4 was 95 and 48, and ESI 5 is 141 and 84. If you're following along, your numbers will not match up exactly because of variation added by the time distributions at each step. For the treatment rooms, we can take a look at the number of servers available, which represents the number of rooms available, the count of patients that passed through, the runtime, and the idle time. We can see that the trauma rooms were operating at about 79% of its capacity, while the exam rooms were at about 83%. One thing we might want to take a look at is the utilization of our trauma rooms and exam rooms, or our servers utilized in each of these blocks. So sometimes all 10 are being utilized, sometimes fewer than 10, and so that might be interesting to look at. We can also look at the total lead time as a histogram, which again describes the amount of time between the item creation and the arrival at this particular block. We could look at these statistics for the exam room treatment as well. We could look at servers utilized and see a little different performance. There were several times we were fully utilizing the exam treatment room because the trauma room is busy with patients that take a longer period of time. Finally, let's take a look at our queues. We can see that for the most part we were keeping up, but at some point an event happened. This queue got backed up with patients waiting to accommodate those higher priority patients. But over time, we were eventually able to catch back up and get back to stable. So in a nutshell, that's the emergency department model. But the real value is in what you can experiment with. By modeling patients with different ESI levels, you can see how priority, triage capacity, and room availability affect waiting, flow, and access to care. In this model, higher acuity patients are prioritized, triage has multiple staff members available, and treatment capacity is represented through limited trauma rooms and exam rooms. And it's not just emergency rooms. The same pattern shows up in urgent care centers, hospital registration, technical support queues, service desks, or any process where higher priority work needs to move ahead of lower priority work. From here, you can start to ask real design questions. Do I have enough triage capacity? How many trauma rooms or exam rooms do I need? What happens when more high priority patients arrive? And how does prioritizing urgent cases affect the wait for everyone else? Those are the kinds of trade-offs this model is built to explore.
That's the model. Now go experiment. Happy modeling!